On this week's episode of Friend Code, we're going to be talking about the recently announced Paper Mario, the Origami King. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Friend Code. I'm your host, Michael Damiani. This week, I'm joined by three very special guests. This is the first time in Friend Code, besides like our E3 specials, we're having more than two guests on the show, so this is a pretty big deal to me. First off, we got first-timer Stealth joining us. How's it going?
Hey, thanks for having me on. This is going to be fun, talking about Paper Mario.
Oh, yeah. Rogersbase, how's it going, man?
It's going good. I'm excited. I feel like it's been so long since I've been able to talk about Paper Mario, and I got some thoughts on this one, so I think we're going to have a good time tonight.
You came to the right place. And Ash Paulsen, how you holding up, man?
I'm great. It's always a pleasure to be here. And I, too, am excited to talk about this because I did not get to participate in Game Explain's discussion about the Origami King. So this is perfect.
Whew.
There's a good reason, I promise.
Okay.
I was in my post-Miku review zombie sleep.
Gotcha.
My
Okay.
Miku review went up at the same exact time. So I was sleeping for I was in such a deep sleep and I just slept through it.
And that's a good point because this is a break for Nintendo from the direct format. This was just shadow dropped out of nowhere, a single game announcement.
Yeah.
And it just came out of nowhere. Trailer, release date. Here you go, is Paper Mario. I kind of want to I want to start there. I want to start with how do you feel about Nintendo delivering it this way? And yeah, what were your initial impressions upon seeing the trailer?
I mean, for me, I kind of like the warning just so I could plan for doing live reactions and doing streams and things. But I mean, on the whole, it was really shocking to me waking up. I looked over at my phone and then saw new Paper Mario game, the Origami King. And I genuinely thought it was a troll. I thought it was, one of those fake Nintendo America accounts or whatever, tweeting out something about Paper Mario. And then I finally started watching and went, oh my God, this is a real Paper Mario game. I got to go record. So I ran off to the other room and sat down into my reaction. But I mean, I do miss the direct format. I think there's something fun about waking up and knowing we're going to get all these big announcements. But also, if it's something like this that just gets shadow dropped, it's kind of like a fun little surprise,
Same. Yeah, it's I love the direct format as much as the next person, and I always want that to come back, but this is something different and kind of cool, and it's kind of fun to find out about a game only 2 months before it's actually coming out. It's not as though we have to wait 6 months to a year for this game. It's coming out in July, and I think that's really cool. My only ask is that they don't release their next big trailer drop at the same exact time as a review embargo of mine also drops. That's my only ask of Nintendo next time. Yeah.
So can Nintendo be courteous to know everyone else's NDAs and embargoes, please?
Yeah, obviously.
Well,
Of
Nintendo
course.
knows our embargoes. If it's for a Nintendo game, they know what day that happens.
Yeah, they probably do.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It can't come out of nowhere, but just real quick, a comment on that, since I don't want to talk too much about I'm going to let you guys go to work on the Paper Mario impressions, but I just hope they don't do this with this is a big announcement. I don't want to be condescending to Paper Mario, but when they drop new Breath of the Wild stuff, it better be at least a 24-hour notice. Please don't shadow drop that at 6 a.m. in the morning on me. I'll be so, no. I don't want to wake up and have everyone already talking about it and stuff. That was the thing, like you said, Roger. For sure.
Well, yeah, and same thing for the Smash character, presumably next month, the ARMS character. I'd like to have a little bit of a warning to, before we get hopefully Twintel in Smash.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. I'm right there with you, bro. Twintel or Min Min, I'm good. Just give me, we need girls. We need women in Smash.
Agreed.
And so I really badly want to see one of them. I think that is going to end up being a mini kind of direct thing, though.
I think so.
Even if it's from Sakurai's place, even if he's in his own home office and he's showing off the character, I still feel like that's going to be something that's going to be in the same format as the previous characters. So
yeah, we'll get at least a day. And also, I also missed the direct, and I feel like the Paper Mario game would have been the very first game that they would have showed.
Yes.
It might not have been the last game, but it would have been the first big reveal. And like Roger, I saw people tweeting about it, and then they had the Nintendo link, and I also thought this has to be a fake,
right?
And then I saw the check mark of verified. I'm like, wait, this is actually happening. And then because I mean they literally just dropped it on Twitter out of nowhere, and everyone just flipped out. But I as much as I like that the game is coming out in 2 months, I don't want every game to just be a shadow drop like that. I would like some build up, just some kind of tease that they have an announcement.
Yeah. One quick thing before we move into actual impressions about it. There's like one or two people messaged me saying that they had heard something about this possibly being originally part of a Mario Direct that was supposed to happen like at the end of April, which was supposed to have like the Mario Maker 2 final update, this announcement, and something about that rumored Mario 35th anniversary collection. And because they're not able to, like, it's not as easy for them to put together a direct presentation anymore, they decided to like piecemeal it and just do them as individual announcements. So I wonder if, if for something like, I wonder what they will judge as worthy of maybe having any kind of advance notice, or if they do think it's fine through the next few months, like no matter what it is, they will just put it out the day they wanted to.
I think that Lego Mario announcement was supposed to be part of that potential Mario Direct too, because didn't the Lego website say, "Oh, as just announced in the Nintendo Direct," and then took it down?
For the 3D Mario games, they can't just shadow drop those.
No.
Please don't.
People will flip out.
But it also may be about less what they want to do and more what they feasibly and safely can do amid this pandemic.
For sure.
That's just their hands may be tied here in terms of what is feasibly possible right now.
Yeah, I mean, you have to imagine the process. I mean, we've gotten a few insights into the process about how they do direct presentations, and like the lockdown policies they have on that. It just seems like it's not as feasible to do some of that with work from home stuff. It seems like why it's more feasible for them to do individual teams, because they can keep the things a little bit more secure that way. And the less people it has to go through, the more they can keep it spread. Because we knew about a Paper Mario style game coming out, but no details about, I think, like the name or what it was going to look like. This didn't come out at all. So at least on that end, they did a good job with that. So I do want to ask you three about your impressions, though, because it seems like every time we get a Nintendo announcement in the last few months, there's always Nintendo fans have a lot to say about new games in the trailers and analyzing them, stuff like that. So I kind of want to start there and get your thoughts on what do you think about the Origami King?
Well, I guess I'll go ahead and start and just say that I'll say the same thing I did on Twitter, which led to a surprisingly intense and hostile debate among some fans, which was I'm cautiously optimistic. I want to be excited. This looks like it's getting closer to the first two Paper Mario games in terms of mechanics and style, which is what I want. The 1,000-Year Door and 64 are my favorite Paper Mario games. And so I'm cautiously optimistic. I love Paper Mario, but like many people, I was personally at least burned on Sticker Star and to a lesser extent Color Splash. Super Paper Mario rests somewhere in the middle. I like it. I don't love it, but I had just, it's like so many other fans, I've been wanting Paper Mario to return to that traditional JRPG style of battle mechanics and such for years now. And it seems like this might get half the way there. It might do its own kind of cool thing where it rests in a comfortable middle point between, kind of the weird Color Splash style and the more traditional style from the first two games. So I'm not totally sold yet, but it's Paper Mario, so I'm going to play it no matter what.
Right.
I just don't want to go all in and being like, yeah, this is the return of Paper Mario that I want to see, that I've wanted for so long, and have it not end up being that. Because there are signs in the trailer that point both ways to me. So again, cautious optimism is kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, that's exactly where I am too. I mean, I'd said that in my video, and there was one in particular little reaction I did to the trailer where I saw the Bob-omb, the little like fuseless Bob-omb, and I screamed because I thought, oh my God, we're actually getting partners again. And then as the trailer sort of went on and I was talking to people about it, I realized, oh, maybe it's not really partners in the same way that I've always expected. And so I'm right there with you. I am absolutely in line with the cautious optimism. I think this has potential to be really, really good, but I could also see this falling in line with the other Paper Mario games that really aren't for me. And much to what you just said too, is I feel like the original Paper Mario for N64 is one of my favorite games of all time. Like that, if you were to tell me what is a 10 out of 10 video game, that original game is a 10 out of 10 to me. And I really do feel like while I really did like 1,000-Year Door, the entire series for me has sort of been like a downward trend with a little bit of a sort of like spike up in the right direction with Color Splash. I love the music and the art style and the visuals and everything. I think Color Splash was like, okay, but I think this is still more in line with what I want. And if I'm never going to get another Paper Mario like 64 or 1,000-Year Door, like I'm okay with it. If it's something that at least is rooted in those original things. And I think with what we see with the battle mechanics in the trailer, right, with the stage, like the theater in the round kind of thing, I think is cute. You see the audience, you're seeing partners, but again, it's not really like clear if they're with you all the time. There's a couple things there I still want to know more about, but on the whole, I think it could be pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was cautiously optimistic after watching the trailer, but that turned to optimism after going to the website, which I feel like actually had a lot more information in terms of the story, where we now know that like Bowser's with us and like a major part. And whenever Bowser's a part of a Mario RPG, the game is going to be good. We also got the first video of the battle system. And also there was a little blurb about like the wacky partners being with us. And in the, I think it's like the Chinese trailer, in one of the battle arena scenes, you actually see your Toad partner like with you in the battle. And so we don't know exactly how that's going to be. Is he just going to cheer you, or is he going to take part? We don't really know yet. But I was actually more optimistic going to the website and looking at like the Chinese trailer versus the US trailer that we got, just because I felt like we got a little bit more on partners, and a little bit more on the story.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because I was wondering about that when I was like looking for information in the morning, that apparently that trailer was taken down by Nintendo. And so I'm like, well, why would you not show that? That's what we all want to know. We want to find out about the battle system and partners. And so I'm wondering if that's something they're going to save for like another trailer next month, perhaps, or for maybe like a miniature Mario Direct to go more in depth. But yeah, we'll see.
And I think that is what gives me a bit of pause, just because Nintendo knows that's what people want to know.
Yeah.
That they know that's what longtime Paper Mario fans are looking to see. And the fact that they're not coming out of the gate and confirming, yeah, this is the return, to, at least somewhat, to those mechanics that a lot of you fans have been wanting, gives me a bit of pause.
Yeah.
Because I would think they'd want to lead with that to kind of, assuage any fears that fans may have going into this game. At the same time, I was heartened by at least seeing enemies take actual HP damage in that really narrow. Okay, like, at least we're not having color drain from enemies this time. Proper HP damage is being taken.
Rubbing on the Wii U gamepad.
Exactly. So it's definitely, like I said, it seems like a step in the right direction. But I got to say, like I mentioned that debate that this led to on my Twitter, like with fans, and I was surprised by how many people, at least who responded to me, were like, well, Paper Mario never, doesn't have to return to JRPG mechanics to be good. I don't know why people are so obsessed with that.
Yeah.
Color Splash and Sticker Star are way better than people say they are. And I'm like, what bizarro dimension? I mean, I don't hate Color Splash.
No.
Again, great visuals, great music. I pretty much loved everything about that game except the battle system. But the battle system was just garbo.
I'm going to tell you why that happened to you, though, because it's why it happened to me, and I looked into it. I think the kids who grew up with Sticker Star are now old enough to have Twitter accounts and have opinions.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured it was.
And I'll be honest, I actually tweeted that too, because I really like Super Paper Mario. I didn't say that, Color Splash and Sticker Star were amazing, but I said, it doesn't have to necessarily fit into this box.
Yeah.
And, speaking of the battle system, and there's a lot of potential there, because I counted, and there's actually like 12 slices around the circle. And, imagine if like there's some scene where Mario's like surrounded literally by enemies, or there's a boss that takes up like half of the circle, or just something crazy. There's a lot of crazy potential with this battle system that, unfortunately they literally only gave us like 3 seconds in the trailer. And I just don't think they did a great job there. With just showing that off.
Yeah. I'll say real quick, it's the situation we're in right now with the coronavirus pandemic is just unfortunate, because if we had a normal E3 or a normal type event, there's something like a Treehouse Live would be perfect for, because we'd get an extended demo and gameplay demonstration of this, and we would see these answers. It's just so, as you said, you have to wonder, like, Nintendo probably has to have some inkling that fans want to know the answers to these, and is it really just, hey, we have something planned for June and we just wanted to save it to then? Or was it just like their things are so disrupted right now they didn't account for that? Like, here's what we have and we could show, but like everything's just so focused on finishing the game, we just slipped through the cracks. Sorry, we didn't know that. But it's surprising that when just tweet out some details, they answered that at least. So I think it's a little interesting that they haven't one way or another confirmed or denied, the partner thing. So, and more of the battle deal. Like, I saw like people want to see like experience return, like experience points is another big question people want to see happen.
Badges would be great, but that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
I would love
Yeah.
to come back. Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually thanks to Game Explain that we got our first like look at the menu, and there's weapons, there's items,
Yep.
and then
Right.
very small in the bottom right hand corner with using the plus button, there's gear. So I'm wondering if gear is badges or something like that.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
And even if it isn't called experience points or leveling up or whatever, I just want there to be a point to fighting again. Because in Color Splash and Sticker Star to a lesser degree, but especially Color Splash, there was literally no point in fighting. Like, you were better off going out of your way to avoid any fight you could. And it just, every time you got into a fight, it felt like a waste of time. Yeah, you could level up your paint capacity, but the game gave you so much more paint and coins than you ever needed. There's never really any need to level up that paint capacity. So regardless of whether it's called experience points, leveling up, or whatever, I just want there to be some sort of element of character growth that getting into battles and fighting makes a difference.
Yeah.
Powers up Mario in some way, like, some sort of long-term character growth is really what I want to see return, regardless of what it's called.
Yeah. For me, I guess it comes down to the partners, right? I think that's the other big concern that I have looking at the trailer, is that the partners, for the most part, look pretty generic comparatively.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool that we got like a little origami Bowser that's folded super small that's apparently a party member, or like a Magic Koopa or a Bowser Jr. or something, or a fuseless Bob-omb. But I think the fact that it's just like a Shy Guy, a Goomba, a Spike, as opposed to Bombettes or, Lady Bo, or like all the other really cool, interesting characters they have, or even like characters that aren't necessarily based on pre-existing Mario enemies, like Vivian from Thousand Year Door. Like, there's really cool things they could do. And I'm not really seeing right now.
Yeah.
There are like some variations, like that toad that you brought up, Stealth, the explorer looking toad. So I want to know more about him. And I do think it's cute that like the Bob-omb doesn't have a fuse, and so he's like a laid back, cool little Bob-omb.
Yeah.
But I want to see more stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I got more excited that Bowser Jr. was kind of like in the group of partners with the more generic ones. I was like, wow, Bowser Jr. is a partner? Why wasn't that in the trailer? That's kind of cool,
Yeah. I mean, honestly, all they'd need to do for me, if they really don't want to go to the drawing board and design all new partners, just bring back Goombella. Goombella alone would sell it for me. She's like the best partner. She's my favorite partner from any of the games.
A cameo from Miss Mose is what I want. That's what I want. Her Miss Mose's song from DDR Mario or whatever, the remix of that.
Oh, right.
So good.
And even I remember in Thousand Year Door, even Yoshi was kind of like a more generic enemy, but they made it cool because you could pick his color and he had personality. So
you name him.
But the thing that's giving me a little bit of hope is, in like the art, we're seeing the generic Toad, but in the video and the screenshots, we're seeing like Explorer Toad.
Right.
So I'm wondering what that's all about.
I have one last question about what you saw in the trailer before I move on to some questions from our patrons about specific other thoughts you had. There was two instances where they showed you one in the shoe mobile. I don't know. It wasn't green, so it wasn't a Karibo shoe. It was something else, wasn't it? And then like the ship, like sailing around the ocean, like there was like islands or something like that. Something like that, is that something more you'd want to see in Paper Mario and see them tap into that a little bit more? Or how do you feel about seeing those scenes? Do you think it implied anything?
Who knows? I mean, I can say, I will say though that variety shown through that variety is one of my favorite parts of the trailer, because you see a really cool mix of like linear 2D levels, and then you see these kind of open world-esque, when you're in the sand dunes and Mario's driving around in the buggy, that purple sand area, and then as you said, the sailing around the ocean. I think that's really cool. We haven't really seen something quite like that in Paper Mario before. We've seen like a version of it kind of with Super Paper Mario, but not quite the same thing.
Yeah.
And so I think it's kind of neat that we're going to be maybe playing through stages from different perspectives and all sorts of different gameplay styles. Again, you got the 2D style that we saw in Color Splash and Super Paper Mario, but then you've got this new free roaming type thing. And who knows, I'm sure those areas aren't going to be super huge, but I would prefer that actually. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of like impossibly big open worlds. So I love exploring, but like I like it to be an easy enough chunk of area to explore instead of just going on and on and on.
Yeah, I do wonder if it's going to be something similar to like the original Paper Mario games, right? Like when you're going through the desert in Paper Mario 64, it's broken up into those like real cute little sections, right? Where you're going between little areas and unlocking different things and finding different secrets. And so I'd like to see something more along those lines. Like I'm right there with you. I don't think we need like these giant open world. I don't need an open world Paper Mario game. I got enough of those.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so long as the RPG elements are there in some capacity, whatever else they're going to do with the gameplay, I'm cool with. You know, they want to do something interesting with origami or
Yeah, I was actually excited about that scene where Mario was being chased by that giant boulder because it reminded me of that scene in the original Paper Mario with Mario in Colorado being chased in the volcano.
Oh, right. That's a good point.
I mean, it sparks some confidence that like maybe they're like tapping back into like the older games vibes a little bit there. And I think like what was said, like the variety, just seeing a lot of variety in the trailer made me feel better about it, and that I'm in the more optimistic, less cautious phase right now. I mean, I still have some doubts, obviously, but at the same time, I do want I would love them to return back to like the older style, but at the same time, I think if they can just do everything well and do something new, there's nothing that should prevent them from, hey, we don't have an RPG style battle system. I know that's what you really want, but at least try this out before you brand it as, oh, it's horrible, this is the wrong direction and stuff like that. So
I think the thing that instills the most confidence though has to be like the tone of the game so far based on what we've seen. I think that's the thing to me, like right from the very beginning where it's like crease and be reborn, like that feels to me like classic Paper Mario type stories, as opposed to like, oh, here's your one little character that you have in Color Splash and all these cute little things. And again, the Paper Mario games, they're always well written, always. But the tone of the games has never really quite gotten back to those original like 3. I would even say Super Paper Mario is sort of in line with Thousand Year Door and 64. And so that, I think, more than anything else is what I'm excited for, because even if the battle system isn't my favorite, if I'm at least enjoying the story, because it is an RPG at the end of the day, I think that's the most important thing to me.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that's, I think, what's got me most excited is the tone and the dialogue and the character designs too, because even though we are seeing some generic looking potential partners and we're not going too far out of the core Mushroom Kingdom character designs, we do see from the villain and other certain characters throughout the trailer that there's definitely a kind of an almost darker vibe that we saw in Super Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. And I'm getting kind of from the story and the tone and the presentation, more than anything, I'm seeing Super Paper Mario. And I think that was the best part of Super Paper Mario. So if anything, that gets me really excited that they're maybe taking the best from Super Paper Mario and then maybe sprinkling in some of the best from other games in the series. Like, again, just the graphics and the visuals and the music, I think we can pretty much guarantee that it's going to be a real looker and it's going to sound great, kind of like Color Splash did. So they might be cherry picking some of the best parts of each Paper Mario game, not including Sticker Star, because I'm not sure if there's anything you can take from that game that's worth it. But all the others, it seems like they could be maybe taking the best of some of them all. But yeah, presentationally, I'm getting major Super Paper Mario vibes, and I love that.
Yeah, I agree. As I mentioned, just kind of the fact that, Peach is kind of on the villain side, and that right from the beginning, and Bowser is like your traveling companion, it's just going to lead to like super dialogue between, Mario and Bowser. And, will Bowser ever get like his normal form in the game? That's kind of what I'm curious about. Like, is he going to go back to normal? And just the fact that the battle system doesn't seem to be resource based instantly, makes it significantly better, I think, than what we've seen. So that's already like a major plus.
On the topic of you saying, when are we going to get Bowser back to normal? I bet you it's the final boss. He unfolds and it's like, oh, you got Bowser as your actual party member. Oh, and everyone goes, how cool is this? So spoilers.
But like you just said, Stealth. I mean, even if it doesn't take the form of specific JRPG mechanics, moving away from a resource-based battle system, and even just not having boss battles that require you to guess what thing sticker or thing card you need to use at a specific part of the battle to even have a chance of winning. Like, that's just bad game design 101. And just not having that is a huge improvement to me, assuming it doesn't, and it doesn't look like it will.
No.
Yeah.
And you saying that right there, Ash, made me just think of Final Fantasy VII Remake and the materia, not having the right materia going into a battle and not having no way to change it.
Oh,
nice. No, sorry. I was like, hey, you actually, that criticism, heard that before recently, haven't I? Oh, maybe no, I'm just kidding.
Oh, that Hell House fight. On hard?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
The Toddberries? Oh, my God.
Yep.
I have some patron questions for the three of you regarding Paper Mario, the Origami King. Some concerns. Some of them have concerns about what they saw, so I guess they want to know if you share those concerns or if you have a way to address them. And our first one comes from Calcputer. Origami King seems to be the latest in a string of criticisms by vocal fans on the internet about missing features or poor design in upcoming games. Many of these criticisms were patched in future updates, and most did not seem to hamper enjoyment or sales of these games in the long run. Does the panel think it is too soon to say whether Paper Mario the Origami King will be the Thousand-Year Door successor some fans have been longing for? Do you have any advice for fans on how to try and keep an open mind about games before they are launched, especially from the perspective of reviewers who often learn details before the general public? Love and respect, Reagan.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Love and respect, Calcputer. I made up spacing error again. Sorry. Reagan's question's next. Sorry, Reagan.
Okay.
That's a really good question. I would say that it's too early to say either way. I think it's too early to say that it's going to be the Thousand-Year Door follow-up that so many people want, but I also think it's too early to say that it's not. I think it's important to keep an open mind in the sense that it doesn't have to be one or the other. As I said earlier, I think this game could settle into a nice middle ground between the two and be its own thing, and that's okay too. It doesn't have to be Thousand-Year Door 2 or bust, at least in my opinion. It can be its own cool thing and be a mix of the two extremes, or just do its own cool thing. And I think it's important to keep an open mind about that being okay too.
Yeah, and I think if it does become its own thing and it's enjoyable, right? If this becomes the new standard for the series moving forward, great. If they found like some new way to deal with the gameplay and the story, and this is just how the Paper Mario games are going to be from now on, I think that's totally fine to set a new standard. To hit on the second thing that someone brought up, which is like, taking criticisms and how reviewers should handle things and stuff. My advice to everybody, this is especially prevalent within the anime community. I'm sure you know this, Damiani. We've talked about this before. And I brought this up on Twitter the day that this Paper Mario thing happened, is don't allow games, especially not games that haven't come out yet, to become such a part of your personality that you become personally offended when someone doesn't like the thing that you like. Like I saw a lot of people who were upset that people were at all even being remotely critical about this trailer, but they should just be like, oh, you're getting a new Paper Mario game. Like, have an open mind. No. You can absolutely be critical about something without being like over the top, just like hating on it, right? I think there is absolutely a middle ground. And I think more often than not, there are things where either people really fall on the spectrum of loving something or hating something, and especially nowadays, I think don't want to have like a discussion about it. And I think if it's something like Paper Mario, no, there's definitely a middle ground that can be had. There's something where you can be optimistic and look forward to the game, but still have some concerns about where the game is going and the direction that the series is going as well. So,
the trailer was a minute, so it's definitely far too soon to say what this game's going to be when it's probably going to be a 40-hour game. It's just way too soon. And in terms of people complaining on the internet, I'm shocked that people have taken it too far. It's never happened before.
Never, especially not for Nintendo games. I mean,
especially not for Nintendo games. There seems to be a controversy with every single one of them, for one reason or another. But it very well might not be a copy of Paper Mario Thousand-Year Door, the original, where you have set 6 chapters and you have to find something at the end of the chapter and you get a party member. It might not be like that, and that's okay if it's good. We just don't know that yet.
Yeah, I mean, all of your points is like a great thing. I think it's great advice to people to take. Also, another thing to consider is that every new entry in a series from Nintendo with the Switch hasn't been a radical departure from previous installments. A lot of these new entries to their mainline franchises have tried out new things here and there, and this could be like the next one in the line, as Paper Mario might be trying to do something a little bit new that might become like that potentially might be well received. And I think they've been mostly on the mark this generation with the Switch, with a lot of things where they tried dating all the way back to like the most radical, I think, was Breath of the Wild, like doing something so different. But doing smaller things and other entries has paid off just as well, I think.
I think, unfortunately, another aspect here with the Origami King that's maybe making it, people are putting it under even more of a magnifying glass than they normally would, is the fact that Alpha Dream, unfortunately, recently went bankrupt. So we know now that we're not getting any more traditional style Mario and Luigi games, even if the series, unfortunately, did kind of take a nosedive after Dream Team. But people know that now. We don't have an alternative outlet for Mario RPGs. So I think people are depending on the Origami King, either fairly or unfairly, even more to be that traditional style Mario RPG that we haven't gotten since Mario and Luigi Paper Jam in terms of original new games, and that wasn't really that good. So I do think that there's maybe unfairly or unfairly more pressure on the Origami King to deliver on that front.
For sure. And I do wonder on Nintendo's perspective, right? If they're like, well, we don't need to continue to make, even with Alpha Dream gone even too, it's like obviously still have the rights to Mario and Luigi. If they want to make one, they could make one. But I am wondering if they're sort of introducing more of the RPG elements back into Paper Mario to be like, this is our mainline Mario RPG series moving forward. Like we're not going to have two separate series. It's going to be this one. Or if they are still going to make a Mario and Luigi, and then like you said, you know, the game comes out, doesn't have all those RPG elements, and maybe they're saving that kind of stuff for that series. I'm really not sure, and I think, you know, only time will tell.
Yeah, to piggyback on what Ash said, we also know that, you know, a kind of a skeleton crew of intelligent systems went to work on Fire Emblem with Koei Tecmo.
Yes.
But the majority of the company was working on this game. So I think people have extremely high expectations that they've been working on this game for maybe 2 years, over 2 years, like the majority of the company. So I think, you know, there's a big expectation for them to deliver, especially after Fire Emblem, which was so good.
Right. Oh, I think, you know, and you bringing up Fire Emblem, I think is a good point that goes back to Damiani's point too about this generation in general, right? Is that you've got things like Breath of the Wild and Odyssey and Xenoblade and Fire Emblem, and they all sort of feel like return to form games while doing their own thing. And I think that's really what I want from Paper Mario more than anything else. Again, even if it's not like one-to-one cut and dry, no pun intended, the same as the old Paper Mario games, I think that's okay. So long as, like you said, Stealth, it's enjoyable. So long as it's fun. If the game is fun, I don't care what the mechanics are going to be. If I'm having a good time and the story's interesting and the writing's great and the music's good and the graphics are obviously beautiful, then I think we're in for a good time.
Yeah, and like it's been Nintendo's MO. They never settle for just revisiting something that's been done before. Even that's what fans want. They know it's what everyone wants. Let's just make it like a sequel that's literally the same thing. They always like to put some kind of quirk or some gameplay hook in there that separates it. That's just what they do. And so, I mean, that's why I think I'm also a little bit more optimistic is that I got good vibes from this. And like, as you said, Stealth, when I was made aware that this was what Intelligent Systems had been working on, primarily the core of their team, I was like, they do great work and I trust them. And I think I will wait. I definitely wait and see what they have and give them a fair shake. And I feel good about it for sure.
Yeah, they don't ignore criticism and they see feedback. And the fact that it doesn't look like there's resources in there, you know, shows that. They saw the blowback for that. And, you know, I do think that they're aiming to kind of have it be more of a middle ground between what they've been doing and what fans are expecting, but making it different.
I would say with Fire Emblem too. I mean, that's such a good example of a good middle ground, right? Is you had Awakening that brought all these new fans into the series. Fates, which was very divisive. A lot of people didn't like the direction that Fates went in. I personally loved it, but it was what it was. And then Three Houses, right, came out, and it really was that like nice middle ground, right? You had that really difficult gameplay that people were craving, but it still had like a lot of the relationship mechanics with tea time and everything like that people were craving from, you know, Awakening with Fates. So I do feel like if that's what they're doing with this and it's like the middle ground Paper Mario, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This next question, I did say we're going to ask the next question from Reagan, so I will read it, but I didn't realize that the three of you pretty much already talked about this, the character design, especially like the partner design. You already talked about this. So Reagan's question was, my big concern with Origami King when looking back at previous Paper Mario entries is the character design, specifically with with who look like to be our partners in the game. Does it bother you that, like, it bothers me that so far they look very plain and lacking personality, like the ones from Paper Mario 64, Thousand Year Door? It would be strange to me if they just use the base looks of Mario enemies for characters in the games, or is it something not worth freaking out of over, in your opinion, love and respect? So we kind of touch upon it. I don't know if anyone wants to say one more thing about that, or if you feel like you're pretty good on that.
Go ahead.
Ash can go for it. Ash can go.
Oh, I was just going to say, you know, despite what, you know, I agree that some of the character designs may look a little generic, and that's possible, and that would be a shame if so, in my opinion. But you use the words freak out. I don't think anything about video games is worth freaking out over. You know, that's like, I think it's important to keep an open mind that even if not every aspect of this game is exactly what we all hope it might be or whatever, I don't think it's worth freaking out. It's still probably going to give you a good time if they can nail the gameplay aspects of it.
The only time anyone should ever freak out is when Sakurai announces every character is coming back to Smash Bros.
Yes, perfectly. Well, I should say freak out in a negative way. Freaking out in a good way. Yeah. But I don't think it's worth getting angry about. I mean, it does seem as though, unfortunately, the Origami King, there is a chance it may suffer from that Miyamoto effect where he just wants to have those generic Mushroom Kingdom only based character designs. And I hope that's not the case. And we have seen evidence to the contrary with the villain and such, right? And the partner or the companion character that follows Mario around in this game. So we've seen, some evidence to the contrary, but I would say even if it does turn out that the vast majority of the characters are that base Mushroom Kingdom design, keep an open mind, as we've been saying the whole time.
Yeah. And I want to go back to that Bob-omb partner. We've seen a bunch of screenshots where he's very animated, and we've seen some of his dialogue, and he just seems like this suave Bob-omb. And even though he's generic, if the writing is super good, you're not necessarily going to pay attention to what color the Bob-omb is, or if the Bob-omb has a mustache or a top hat or whatever. If it's well written and there's a reason why you have a companion. I don't think it necessarily matters all that much. But yeah, then, we're talking about partners in a Paper Mario game. There's no reason to flip out. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. I was going to laugh because I think Roger might know about this too. For people who are really into anime and stuff, trying to design very flashy, catchy characters doesn't always equate to good characters.
No.
Very true.
But the writing's not there.
I won't name any names. That's fine. This isn't an anime podcast. This is a Nintendo one, so I'll wait for a different friend code at a different time.
Our next question comes from Matthew. Hello, everyone, and welcome guest. Fan of your content, thank you very much. As someone who enjoyed Color Splash but maintains the first two Paper Mario games as my favorites, I was pleasantly surprised with the Origami King announcement. It appears to continue what Color Splash did in terms of presentation, but at the same time has some hints of more traditional style turn-based battles with some kind of stage gimmick system in place. I liked what I saw, and I had the game on pre-order. I know that partners is something that many people are curious about, and I know for Roger, it's probably the main thing holding you back on pure excitement. From what little we have seen, I think there will be characters that join you over the journey, but I think they may not be as in-depth as the first two games. I was thinking that maybe you will run into a new character every chapter, and they will play a part of that story. You might use their unique abilities to solve puzzles, and perhaps they're kind of involved in a battle in some way, but they don't gain any new abilities or level up. They help you just for that chapter, and then you move on to the next. So would that be something you'd be interested in, those come-and-go partners that are only there temporarily?
That's so tough. I need to just see how the game does it. I need to see how the game pulls it off. I really don't know. I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think the game looks good, right? But it's just one of those things, right, where it's not a Paper Mario to me without those partners having good personalities. And I think the thing Stealth just brought up is the most important thing, which is the writing and the personality these characters are given, right? I think maybe they are moving in a direction where the generic enemies are sort of becoming more like mainline characters, right? We got the introduction of Piranha Plant in Smash Bros. Maybe there's something along those lines, right? Maybe they want to give a generic Bob-omb a personality and then have that be a mainline character moving forward. That's how the Bob-omb acts. Great. I'm cool with that. But so long as it makes sense within the story, I certainly would not like the partners to be relegated to a means to solve a puzzle, per chapter. I would like it where it's something where once you get a partner, you can use that partner and their special ability in battle throughout the rest of the game, similar to the partners in most other RPGs, right? Where even if the partner's not with you and not present within the story, if there's someone you can call upon, maybe through the gear that was mentioned in that Game Explain video, I think that'd be awesome, right? I would love to see that type of inclusion, but it's just I have to play the game to see. I really don't know. So long as they make it enjoyable, then.
It's so hard to say because on paper that doesn't sound as interesting, but if they do it right and the focus is on really good writing and characterization, that may also work. But I think also part of the appeal with partners is that you feel as though you're going on this grand journey with these partners you pick up along the way, and by the end you feel like you've journeyed with all of them for this grand adventure, and you've gotten familiar with them, and they're just part of your party. I don't think there's as much, at least on paper, as much appeal there if they're one and done they enter for a chapter, then exit, and you don't hear from them again. I think there's some appeal in having them with you for the long term, which is the point of so many RPGs, right?
Right.
Yeah, it reminds me of Super Paper Mario, where you would get like the pixel enemy. You would get your pixel partners, where like in the very beginning when you got them, you know, you'd have like a dialogue or a conversation or something interesting. But then after that, you'd never hear from them or see them again unless you wanted to switch them out for a puzzle or something.
Right.
And then that's kind of what I don't want. That's like the worst case scenario, where you know you had like I think 8 partners in and not counting like Luigi, Peach, and Bowser, but like your 8 like pixel partners,
Right.
and you would just use them for puzzles, and that was it. And they had a personality right as you met them, but then after that, you never heard from them again. So that's kind of what I would be worried about. But you know, again, looking at some of the screenshots of the Babam, how animated he was, and some of the cool, funny dialogue, I am thinking they're going to take it, you know, more in a way where they do have personalities at least.
I'm so glad you brought up the pixel partners too, because that was the other thing. I think that would have been so much more enjoyable if they were just Mario characters instead of weird little geometric shapes. Like I liked what they were trying to go for, but at the same time, it's like, bro, this is a Mario game. Like, where are my Mario characters? So yeah, if it is something along those lines, again, if the gameplay is good enough and utilizes them in an interesting way, I'm fine. But that certainly is not my preference.
Good stuff. Our next question comes from Morgan. Dear panel, will Nintendo try to integrate origami instructions or even collectible packaged origami papers for do-it-yourself paper folding? Nintendo has a history with interactive products. This would align pretty well with the game at little cost to Nintendo. Your thoughts?
No, that's actually
see, this is a Switch box. You take out the paper in the Switch box, and this has an origami pattern on it. That's what they'll do. Watch. Yeah. Come back to me in July. That's what they're going to do with the box art.
Heard it here first.
You know, I didn't really think about that until just this moment. But yeah, that's definitely what they're going to do. Is they're going to have some kind of foldable, you know, Peach that you can do or something.
Even if it's just something you download off the website or something.
Could be that too.
I'm sure they'll do something.
Yes.
I mean,
like the main website, like they're like the nice landing site they made for it. I'm expecting there to be like a tab added at some point that says like print out, you know, your own things like that. So for sure.
Yeah. And not that they would ever do it for a single game like this, but I do feel like there's some sort of point here to be made that there could be a Labo kit, like an origami Labo kit that would work really well with this game, but they're not going to do that for just this game, of course.
Yeah, or even if there's like a collector's edition for this game and there's some kind of like origami Peach amiibo. I don't even know if they still make amiibo, but if there's something like that, where it'd be like a collector's item.
It'd be cute.
Yeah.
They've done paper amiibos before because the cereal box was an amiibo. You remember that? When they had the Super Mario cereal and you cut out the little back?
Yeah, that's right.
So they can actually do that. If they want to re-release the Mario cereal, they can have a paper Mario cereal and you cut out the back and it's an amiibo. Yeah.
I love it.
Our next question comes from Alan. Hey team, considering that Thousand Year Door is my favorite game of all time, I'm very excited by a proper new Paper Mario RPG. However, the ring battle system seems really lame. In the very limited chance we got to see it, the rotating mechanic requires the battlefield to be zoomed way out so that we can have an overhead view of the arena, which means I'm going to be staring at a largely empty screen with little characters bouncing around. Half the fun of the original Paper Mario games was the interactions the characters would have with each other, the enemies, the stage, and the audience. Done to perfection during the Rock Hawk fight. Nice shout out there. I cannot see a scenario where that intimate flavor of combat is going to be incorporated here. Please, I'd appreciate a pep talk. Love and respect.
I'd say the audience thing at the very least, I could be like, you could look forward to that because we saw that in the trailer. And again, I think we talked about this before during this conversation, but it is somewhat still rooted in like the idea of being on a stage for your battles in Paper Mario, right? It's just the theater in the round. If you're familiar at all with theater, it's what it is. I mean, it's a round stage in the middle and there's an audience surrounding it. So I'm sure there will be some type of audience interaction there. And even from the little bit that you see from the trailer, you could see like the audience, at the very least, reacting to things. So I'd be shocked if there wasn't some type of mechanic that involved them at some point.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll say this: like the ring aspect of the battle system is the one part that gives me a little pause. I'm not sure if it might kind of get in the way of the rest of the proceedings, but it does seem as though to me, again, not that we've seen that much of it, but it does seem as though to me that overhead view is really only when you're adjusting the ring.
Yeah.
When you start actually fighting, it takes kind of more of a traditional side view closer up to the characters, presumably. And based on, like, I'm looking at the trailer right now, and as Mario's hopping from Boo to Boo, and they're taking HP damage, that's a regular side view that's more up close and intimate with all the characters in the battle. So I really do think that overhead view is only when you're adjusting the ring. And that may be the first thing you see in every battle, but I do think that even if that's not your jam, like, that's a fairly minor thing to have to worry about if that's the only part of each fight that is that overhead kind of zoomed out view. And that's kind of what I'm thinking is the case so far.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, the ring system has a lot of potential, in terms of like enemies completely surrounding you, or, creative puzzle boss battles where you have to like shift certain parts in different directions, and really we only literally saw Goombas, like the very first probably enemies that you're going to fight. We literally haven't seen anything else. And, Nintendo said this is going to be very strategic and very puzzle based. So I'm sure they're just going to come up with some crazy ideas for how to do that. So it's way too early to poo-poo the ring-based battle system.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious. You need to be able to zoom out that far to process all that, because as you said, Stealth, they're probably going to do some crazy thing with that, where you need to have all the information by looking at everything. But as Ash pointed out, and like the little bit we've been able to see when you actually engage in like one of the rows or pizza slices, I guess, is that it does zoom in and get a little bit more intimate. So I think is wait and see what that balance is, and maybe they even have an option about like at default start like zoomed in or something, and until you want to zoom out or something. I don't know. Just wait and see for sure. Our next question comes from Corey. Dear guest, we see a DK and Samus helmet in the trailer.
I knew we were going to talk about this at some point.
Any chance these are going to be summons in the game? And if so, what other Nintendo IP would you want to see become a summon?
Someone else take this first.
All of the above. I mean, I think better question is there any Nintendo IP you wouldn't want to see as a summon?
Yeah.
I mean, who's going to turn down any of them?
I guess the implication of what they mean by being in there. There was a fun speculation going around about what, especially how involved the Samus sequence was.
Sure. I mean, so there were like the early rumors about the Paper Mario game on Switch that were paired with the rumor of a 2D Metroid game coming to Switch this year, right? And then there were other rumors where people were saying there's apparently another big holiday game that we don't know about yet that's not the Mario remasters that are rumored. And so like everything does kind of line up where it'd be like, well, maybe the game this holiday is going to be a 2D Metroid game. But I am not holding my breath that that's at all what this was teasing, or like that this is teasing that we're going to get Metroid Prime 4 news soon or something. Like, I think that's the last thing on Nintendo's mind right now is figuring that out. We're going month by month at this point. We got Xenoblade, we got Clubhouse games, we've got Paper Mario. Like, there's things that are planned every month moving forward. And so, I don't necessarily think that was like a full-on tease that we're going to get information soon. But like Ash said, I mean, who would turn down having like a summonable Samus paper mache origami thing that can fight alongside you? Like, of course I would want that. Are you kidding me? Of course.
Yeah, I'll say this. Oh, go ahead.
No, I think it's like more along the lines of a fun Easter egg where, you go behind the curtain in certain Mario games and you become like the sprite Mario. Like, it's just kind of like a fun goof. And, especially thinking about like why necessarily would intelligence systems want to promote a Metroid game that they necessarily aren't working on unless they were told by Nintendo to do the trailer that way. It just, I don't know. It just seemed like a fun kind of thing that, oh, wow, there's Metroid. It brings conversation to it. But I don't think.
Link in Mario RPG for Nintendo?
And then that's kind of like the same thing.
Yeah.
I'll say this. If we're talking about, summoning characters from different Nintendo IPs, the Rhythm Heaven series' visuals are already really flat. So I want to see a wrestler mask, like a wrestler from Rhythm Heaven Fever that you can summon and do some sort of, timed attack with rhythm. Yeah. Perfect.
Woo. Yeah, I'd like to see it pay off like that. Hey, maybe all those spirits I got in Smash Brothers will become summons and
hold on. So wait. So now, okay, you can't have me on or have any of us on and mention Smash Bros and then not drop something.
Right.
I want to bring this up, especially because we saw the arms looking thing in this trailer where like he has super long, stretchy paper arms. Now, I'm not saying Paper Mario is going to be the arms rep, obviously, but what I'm saying is that I think now more than ever, I believe we could be getting Paper Mario as a DLC fighter in Smash Bros. Because I was thinking back to like what they might be wanting to do with Fighter Pass 2 and maybe introducing more first-party characters because the majority of that first Fighter Pass was third parties outside of Byleth. And even then, that was sort of like a no-brainer. Like, of course, we're going to get another Fire Emblem character. This happens every game. But I do wonder if, we've got a Paper Mario game coming out. There's already a Paper Mario stage. They could do a stage like the Origami Castle or something and make Paper Mario a playable character. I'd be curious, like, do you guys think that's maybe more of a possibility now than there ever was before for him being included as one of the next upcoming fighters in Fighter Pass 2?
Yeah, I think so. Especially at the very least, we're going to get a Spirit Board event with different Paper Mario characters. That's like a bare minimum of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, definitely Paper Mario would be like a completely different character than regular Mario. Like it wouldn't even be like a clone situation.
Right.
And yeah, I do think you could come up with a good stage, excellent music. And yeah, I definitely think that's a possibility.
I do think there's a bigger possibility of that now more than ever. If it was going to happen, this is the time it's going to happen. However, I do agree with you, Stealth, that no matter what, we're going to get a Spirit Board event. And I personally, I kind of still don't see it happening. I admit that this is the biggest chance there will ever be, probably until the next game. But there are already so many Mario reps, and to have another version. I mean, there's Mario, there's Luigi, there's Wario already. To have another, obviously Luigi and Wario aren't Mario, but to have another version of Mario on top of all that might feel like, I don't know. I just don't know if they're going to go in that direction. But then again, nobody knows how Sakurai and Nintendo think other than Sakurai and Nintendo. So who knows? I personally still don't think it's going to happen. I think we'll probably get a Spirit Board event, and that's probably it. But if it is going to happen, this is the time for it to happen. So who knows?
Yeah.
I won't say no to the possibility either. Definitely possible. Our next question comes from Chris. Hi, everyone. With the cycle that Intelligent Systems moves on from Advance Wars and Pushmo because of how much more money Fire Emblem made, will we see a shift in priority if Paper Mario outsells Three Houses? We've already seen Three Houses work with a skeleton percentage of the staff. Will the main roster again move on to richer pastures?
I don't think so. I mean, Fire Emblem is one of Nintendo's A-list IPs now.
Right.
I mean, it's made such a huge rebound. Nobody disputes how incredibly successful Fire Emblem is for Nintendo. They're not going to pivot from Fire Emblem to make more Paper Mario games. If anything, they'll just keep doing both. But I don't think Fire Emblem's ever in any danger at this point.
And I think we had a discussion about this on friend code BQ before quarantine during the DLC conversation, Damiani, where we were talking about, the Ashen Wolves and what the Fire Emblem team might be working on next. Like, to me, and I think Stealth also agrees with me on this too, we're probably going to get a remake game. Like, there were rumors of there being another remake game a while ago, and there's a lot of games that they could pull from. They could do genealogy, right? There's any number of things they could do for Switch. And I do sort of feel like Fire Emblem is becoming one of those series, much like Pokemon, where it's iterative, where you're going to get a new one and then a remake game and then a new one. And with a system like the Switch, right, where Three Houses is already a success, I would not be surprised if the next thing Intelligent Systems is working on is like a remake game of Fire Emblem.
Yeah, and let's also say that Fire Emblem Heroes is Nintendo's most popular mobile game significantly. Like, it's brought in more revenue than all of their other mobile games combined. So Fire Emblem isn't going out of their consciousness. It's there. Even just the mobile game. But yeah, I agree with Roger that they're probably going to be working on a remake. I'm not sure if they're going to necessarily bring back on Koei Tecmo to handle most of it. But yeah, Fire Emblem. Intelligent Systems is so big; they have multiple teams. I think Advance Wars is kind of a different case because Advance Wars Days of Ruin on DS didn't sell that well. So they kind of put that on the back burner to focus on Fire Emblem. And now Fire Emblem is selling well. So if you have two series that sell well, that's a good problem to have for a studio.
Yeah. Well, and I will say this, on top of all that, this is completely anecdotal. I'm not, confirming some crazy piece of news or anything, but I still remember when I went to go preview Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadows of Valentia, like I went to San Francisco to preview it and get hands-on time with it. Some Nintendo rep, I don't know who it was, said something that gave me the impression that they were planning out Fire Emblem Echoes as a series.
Right,
of
like a
remakes.
sub-series. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
and I don't know if maybe those plans were scuttled. I don't know. Who knows if that was the case? Maybe they didn't even mean to imply that. But I always got the sense that was the case, and that they would do another remake along that line. So I agree with you guys. It seems to me that they would probably do a remake next.
I gotta say though, I would not turn down an Advance Wars, man. Like I love that series. Also, it's a crying shame Days of Ruin was not more successful, because that game was just phenomenal. I loved everything about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Intelligent Systems, didn't they also make Codename Steam? So I feel like maybe they're less likely to work on new things right now after what Codename Steam became. So we'll see. It'd be a shame though. I'd love to see them work on more new IPs. You know, I think that team is so talented. So.
And Paper Mario and Fire Emblem are both million sellers. So you know, just for the simple fact of diversification, you know, you don't want to necessarily bury one if they're both selling crazy, which they are.
Yeah, it feels like I mean, I'm pretty sure this is correct. We've only gotten a Paper Mario entry once per platform, I think. We haven't gotten two on the same platform. Whereas Fire Emblem has appeared. There have been multiple Fire Emblems on the same platform, and I think going by that, I mean, it's never good to just like take precedent with it when it comes to Nintendo and apply that towards like future speculation. Seen how many times that has backfired on a lot of people. But if that's only information to go on is that pattern, is that I would feel safe that like the Origami King will probably be the only Paper Mario on for Switch right now. Whether, you know, if they make a Switch 2 or something, you know, they'll follow up with that. Whereas I can see a Fire Emblem remake and possibly another brand new Fire Emblem coming out on Switch before they move on, like one a year. Yeah.
And I'll even add on to that, just if we're, going to go pie in the sky with this. If Origami King does well, and I expect it to, I wouldn't be surprised to see the next Paper Mario games. I don't think there's going to be another new original Paper Mario game on Switch. But what's stopping them from remaking the Thousand Year Door for those fans who may not quite have that being scratched by the Origami King? I know. But I mean, you know what? There's that whole hashtag remake Thousand Year Door. I mean, they have to know there's desire for that. And if the Origami King does end up being its own thing, hey, maybe they'll throw us a bone. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, we saw remakes of the Mario and Luigi games on 3DS. We saw a bunch of them.
That's right.
So
That's right.
You know, even though that was handled by Intelligent Systems, there's literally nothing from stopping Nintendo from, bringing Thousand Year Door to the eShop, and that'll shoot right to #1 literally the day it's released.
God, you guys, don't do this.
Something simple as that.
Come on.
I hear you.
Great to have for sure.
Yeah.
This makes too much sense though. I have one more Paper Mario RPG related question before we have this one or two general Q&A questions we'll move on to. This is from John of the Future. Hey everybody. Every time there's a mention of Paper Mario, Mario and Luigi, Damiani will inevitably bring up Super Mario RPG and wish for a true sequel. What's the possibility of that happening with modern Square Enix? Who do you see working on it? Could it ever live up to your expectations? Love and respect.
There is not a chance. Don't hold your breath. That's what I'm saying to that.
Well,
yeah.
Actually, there's a small chance because Malo and Gino are spirits. In Smash Brothers.
Of course, you're bringing it back to Smash Stealth. I'm liking this. Come on.
I'm bringing it back to Smash.
It back, baby. Come on.
Yeah. And, I would say the relationship that Nintendo has with Square is probably as good as it's been since the SNES days. Maybe even better with how much content Square is putting on the platform. And, there might be like a small door that can be opened for that. And who would I want to work on that? Team Asano. The Bravely Default team, the Octopath team.
Oh yeah,
that's them.
Whew.
But I'm not saying it's likely, but I just feel like the relationship that Nintendo has with Square is as good, if not better, than it's been since the SNES when they actually worked on that. And literally right after Super Mario RPG, things just fell apart for the relationship.
Yeah.
I guess I'll say this. I don't expect it at all, but for me, that kind of falls into that really weird limbo of the same thing. I'll say the same thing about, I would say, Sora getting into Smash. It both seems like the most likely thing and the least likely thing at the same time, in a weird way. It makes so much sense because so many people want it that it seems inevitable. But at the same time, it seems like it's also just not going to happen because of company red tape and rights issues. And so I don't expect it, but at the same time, I weirdly wouldn't be surprised if it actually, by some miracle, did happen.
I will say what is
all
likely.
bets are off if Gino comes to Smash. All bets are off.
Yeah, right.
No.
Gino
Yeah,
comes to
that's for
Smash, of
sure.
course.
That is for sure.
I will say though, what does seem likely is I could see them re-releasing Mario RPG on the Super Nintendo online system thing on Switch.
Yeah.
Because that's still not on there. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's not.
Yeah.
No.
So I mean, I could see them eventually putting that on there. But in terms of like a Mario RPG 2, I mean, also correct me if I'm wrong on this. Wasn't Paper Mario initially Mario RPG 2? Like when it was first revealed in Pack Watch or whatever and Nintendo Power, they said, "Oh no, this is Mario RPG 2." So who knows?
I want to see a Super Mario RPG 2. I really do. I think the one issue, like, while the most likely candidate, as you said, Stealth, like Team Asano, would probably be who could work on it. I think, and people probably be very satisfied with a product, whatever came out of that partnership and then that game. I think there's there's bigger expectations, I think, because when that game was originally announced back in the day, it had so much, grandeur about it. It was like this amazing collaboration, this amazing crossover. I think to do it justice, they would have to make such a big deal about it that the scope and scale of it would go beyond what they could probably handle. It would probably have to bring in more involvement. It'd probably turn into something way more elaborate, and it'd probably never see the light of day because it gets so convoluted and stuff. It would just like it. Right. I mean, Square Enix's big team's already so tied up with stuff right now, and I just don't think they have anywhere to squeeze it in that yeah, it'd be a weird thing. So like, it's nice. I always keep dreaming about it. I'll keep wishing for it, but at the same time, I understand it's probably never going to happen.
Here's what I'm hearing, Damiani. I'm hearing that we're getting Super Mario RPG remake project directed by Tetsuya Nomura, part 1 coming out 2022, and every part after that for the next 3 to 4 years.
Getting Toriyama to come back and do all new illustrations and stuff.
On that note, though, I mean, considering it took Square Enix as long as it did to get around to remaking, one of their most popular, successful games of all time, I don't see how this could. I don't see how they could fit this in. But I will say that if it were to somehow happen, my one ask/demand is that Yoko Shimomura come back as composer for it.
Yes,
the one thing I want.
100%.
Yeah.
This is like the same thing when I got it confused for a second, but I was alluding to also Chrono Trigger, like why revisiting OG Chrono Trigger and stuff like the same
Trigger
thing
in the Octopath Traveler engine,
because
bro.
of like
the games. Oh my god, I love that.
I mean, that would be great, but like expectations for like, and when people want like a new Chrono Trigger, it's just like, you understand how ridiculous it's going to be to put together like Final Fantasy Remake. Look at what Final Fantasy Remake is taking. That's all being internally developed. Imagine having to bring in like a Toriyama and everyone else.
But I feel like there's a middle ground with that because Trials of Mana was remade and that wasn't big. So I feel like there's a way to hype the game, but like have expectations. Like this is going to be like a 4K. Gino. Looks like a human. He looks like Pinocchio. It's not gonna look that good. Yeah. But I think we all agree like it's not gonna happen. But the relationship between the two companies is as good as it's ever been. And if it were, like, I feel like it's somewhat within the realm of possibility now. Like it wasn't even within the realm of possibility before, but now like Nintendo is partnering with Koei and all these other companies and. They're partnering with Square on a bunch of games. Yeah.
And letting them use their IPs as well to develop original games with their IPs. Nintendo's very good with these relationships, I would say.
And as far as Chrono Trigger goes, we are going to get a port of the Steam version on Switch for $24.99, and we're going to like it.
That's what they're going to do. I'm there day one. I'm downloading it. I'm
same. I don't care. I'll pay it, whatever. But that's what they're going to do. You know that.
I know.
And they'll shoot right to number 1 on the eShop. We all know it.
It absolutely will. I mean, I think at this point, successor would be awesome, but I think I would also love them to dream big. Like just have like some kind of Nintendo/Square Enix collaboration. Like go beyond Mario. Go insane. Like you had Smash Bros. For fighting games. Like maybe you have this collaboration for an RPG game. Like go insane. I mean, you have Kingdom Hearts already with Disney and Square Enix. Like Nintendo Square Enix, maybe more. I don't know. Like dream big, I would say. Like, make big deals out of some of the stuff. Don't just like limit yourself to like one franchise,
I mean, the story, such as it is, of World of Light from Smash Ultimate sells itself for an RPG. Every Nintendo world is getting, overtaken by this cosmic entity. So you have to go to every Nintendo world, and every Nintendo hero has to. That sells itself. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
20-year development cycle. Here we go. I have some questions for us, not related to Paper Mario, from some of the people in our community, from our patrons. The first one comes from Andrew. Hey, panel. What do you think will be the impact of Nintendo's release schedule due to COVID-19? More importantly, do you think Breath of the Wild 2 has any chance of coming out this year?
No.
No way. It didn't before COVID. It certainly doesn't after COVID. Yeah, that was never going to be this year.
Yeah, I think maybe they were aiming for holiday, like internally, but they were never going to say that. But now, I mean, I think most developers have been affected, and the very fact that Paper Mario was announced in a tweet, means that it was all the other possible games in a direct were affected, so they just dropped it. So I definitely think that their schedule will probably be affected, but to Nintendo's benefit, Switch is hotter than it's ever been. Like literally, like you can't find it in Japan, you can't find it in many places in the US. It's literally like selling like record numbers monthly, like holiday numbers in April and May. The good news is, even if some games are delayed, Switch is selling like crazy no matter what.
Yeah, and they have the benefit too of having the, they have like DLC for Smash, DLC for Pokemon, DLC for all these really big titles going on right now. Is they don't really, I think, need this giant release schedule this year, right? If that rumor is true, and we are actually getting Mario remasters or remakes as part of like some collection, that's insane. That's going to sell itself. When it comes to this holiday, right, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are being cautious with money, and you've got these two giant new systems coming out this year. You've got PS5, you've got this new Xbox. They're all going to be very expensive, and I think little Timmy is just going to want a video game console, and his grandma's going to go to the store, and they still haven't even dropped the price of the original Switch. If they drop the price to like $200 this holiday, or not even 200, it's 300 still, isn't it? They could drop it to 250.
The Nintendo Lite's
you could drop it to 250 this holiday, bundle in like a Mario 3D World port or something, and it would sell gangbusters. Like, I really don't think they need anything else. And, going back to what you guys were talking about with Breath of the Wild too, I feel like internally, I would say they were probably aiming for like spring of next year. Like,
that's what I was thinking.
4-year anniversary of Zelda, and I think now I don't expect it until holiday next year, maybe alongside like a Metroid Prime 4. But even then, we know nothing about that, so that might be like early 2022 or later. I have no idea. But again, considering the way that they keep promoting some of the games that are still like more like platforms, right? Like Animal Crossing and Smash and Pokemon. I think if they do things like this, like a Paper Mario or a 2D Metroid, or more like smaller franchises, and then on top of that include things like those remaster collections or whatever, they've got plenty of stuff to go around.
Yeah.
So.
Go ahead.
We forget, like, Animal Crossing hasn't even been out. It hasn't even had a holiday season yet.
Right.
You lower the price to maybe the Switch Lite to like $100 or whatever, something crazy like 120 or whatever it would be. It's gonna fly off the shelves.
Yeah.
Well, and they still, they also have a number of Wii U ports they haven't done yet, including 3D World, that they can position for 95% of Switch's audience as completely new games.
Yes.
Because, hardly anybody had a Wii U. So 3D World is going to be a completely new game for the vast majority of people who are playing it on Switch.
I mean, there's a lot of people who say that with Mario Kart, right? There's a lot of people who are like, oh, this is my first HD Mario Kart. It's like, well, actually, there was a system beforehand.
And you can also do that for younger players who have a Switch who didn't have a Wii U, who never got to play Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD, to say nothing of the original versions of those games. So they've got all these Wii U ports they can do that they can position as new games to the vast majority of their user base on Switch. And then for the rest of us, they've got Smash DLC, as you guys said, and Animal Crossing DLC, Pokemon DLC. And even though we don't know the rest of their projects for the rest of the year, I think it's safe to say they've got at least 1 or 2 more games coming that are new and that we're not going to know what the hell they are until they say something about them, like the Origami King.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Pikmin 3 Deluxe rumor is true.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. Or especially if that leads into a Pikmin 4 or the announcement at the very least by the end of the year of a Pikmin 4. I want to see all of it. There's so many Wii U games, like you said, that could still be ported. I'd be happy with like a Xenoblade X port, but I just don't think that's happening this year with Definitive Edition coming out. We know also Monolith Soft is working on a new IP, so literally at any point within the next the rest of the year, they could just drop a trailer for that, and that could potentially come out this year. because I'm assuming that the team working on Definitive Edition is not the same team that's been working on that new IP since the closing of development of Xenoblade 2.
It's not.
Yeah.
In Famitsu, it was mentioned that production team one team is working on the new IP, the other team was working on Xenoblade, and then they had a third team that was working on both.
Wow.
And so now that Xenoblade's done, that third team, like the whole team is probably going to go to that new IP. So we could see that at any time.
Yeah. Well, on top of that, too, I'm sure some of them are going to Breath of the Wild, too, as well, because Monolith Soft has always worked on the Zelda games. So, yeah.
Plus, we don't know what, if anything, Mercury's team is working on at the moment. And they could be working on some 2D Metroid for Switch. Who knows?
Or Grezzo.
Remake?
Metroid 5.
Yeah, or Grezzo.
Metroid 5.
Yeah.
Metroid 5. Metroid Dread. Finally. Back from the Dread. Yeah.
Oh, I think Grezzo's working on a new port of
a Zelda game?
Yeah,
I hope so.
I'm
I
sure.
think an Oracle game is getting next.
Yeah, I would love that.
I think they're
my God.
What if they're
an Oracle game?
That would be
I think
crazy.
that's absolutely what they're working on.
Oh, wow.
Or what if they're working on a port of Link Between Worlds or something?
Link's Awakening Switch outsold the original Link's Awakening. They'll probably by the end of the year outsell combined. I mean, at some point, outside combined DX and OG. So
wow,
it's
Awakening, by the way, like,
that.
Not to get too off tangent, Link's Awakening was so good. Like
It
that
was.
on Switch was so good, far better than I ever actually expected. I went back and I replayed it a couple days ago, which is why that happened to be the box that I pulled up when we were talking about the Origami thing. But man, I forgot how good that game was. I think it came out at a weird time where we had a really busy end of the year last year where a lot of things were sort of coming out. And I played through it on stream and almost like forgot the fact that I had played through the entire thing. And so now I'm playing again on my own, and it's so charming. And yeah, if, like you said, Grezzo is maybe remaking one of the Oracle games in that engine, that'd be incredible.
Yeah, so I think the point is that Nintendo has like a lot of like different teams, like HAL Labs, like they've been working on a Kirby for a couple years now. So they have a lot of teams that are working on things, but like unlike other studios, Nintendo doesn't like tease like what they're working on other than what Monolith Soft did, which isn't normal.
Yeah.
So like I'm sure like internally they have a huge list of games, and to us like it doesn't seem like they have much.
For sure. Yeah. Good points all around. And yeah, due to the situation, I think whatever is just ready to go will have a short lead time, and they'll just bring it out. As we said, Ash, you're probably right. There's probably at least one or two games we don't know about that are still going to hit this year for sure.
Oh yeah.
And one of them is totally a new Rhythm Heaven game, obviously.
Oh please, please.
Oh yeah,
please.
I have some. I have a few uncles who told me that's definitely on the docket.
Nice, awesome,
nice.
We have one last question and one comment after. This last question actually is about Smash Brothers, and you're talking about like some of these games being kind of like presented as platforms like Animal Crossing. This question from Mo Grant: Hey allies, Maximilian dude posted a video last week talking about Smash Bros. Ultimate and how the series is currently in a golden era due to the amount of characters and support the game is getting, and how there's very little chance that any future Smash Bros. Game will get this level of support and content. He then goes on to say that going forward, he would prefer if Nintendo turned it into a live service game and just continued to develop for and support Smash Ultimate instead of creating a new Smash title. Even going so far as to say Nintendo could turn it into a free-to-play game at some point for their next console and just charge for character packs. He doesn't go on to admit that's something that Nintendo probably will never do.
Right.
While I'm not sure how I feel about a live service version of Ultimate, I am curious as to how Nintendo handles this franchise going forward, as I agree if they do release a new Smash title, it'll be extremely hard to even match, much less surpass, what Ultimate has accomplished. Which is why I pose a question to you, allies. How should Nintendo handle Smash once the final fighter passes out? Should they just continue to support Ultimate perpetually, or do you think that they should release a new Smash title whenever they put out their new system? As always, keep up the great work, love, and respect.
I think Smash is in a weird situation, right? Where I feel like I would love for them to just continue with Ultimate as the platform so they don't have to keep renegotiating for these characters so that like the ones that are in there are now always in there. But I truly believe that after this, we're never getting another one like this again. I think we're going to get like a full ground-up reboot. I think Sakurai is much like Oda in the sense where Ichiro Oda, the guy who writes One Piece, right, has said for years, like, oh, I'm close to the ending. Of course, I'm close to the ending. Oh, yeah, we're almost done. I'm never doing anything else again. And then he ends up doing like all this awesome stuff. And Sakurai's known to do the same thing, right? And he said this about Melee. He's like, yeah, I think after Melee, I think I'm done with the Smash series. And then went on to do Brawl, and went on to do Smash 4 Ultimate. So I think we can probably expect that he's going to want to keep going with Smash, but I think if he's ever meant it when he said it, this is the time that he means it. And I think a full reboot of the series where maybe you give new movesets to like Mario and Samus and Link and the characters that have played the same since the original game, if they do something maybe on that end, they could then open the door for like a new producer and a new director and really have a new team working on the game to give it sort of like this new, fresh life. The only issue with that is that now they've set up all these amazing characters and all the stuff that's an Ultimate, where truly it is the ultimate Smash game. I don't truly understand how they could ever make one that's bigger than this ever again. I don't think they can.
Yeah. I agree with all of that, and I completely agree with Maximilian when he says, "I just want them to keep porting Ultimate and just working, adding to Ultimate on console after console." For me, there's just no way you can go up from Ultimate. I'm not against a different director rebooting the series down the line, but I can't say I want it either. I mean, to me, there's no question that Ultimate, aside from its Miracle roster, and let's be clear, it is a miracle roster.
We have Joker
and it's not even
in the same game as Banjo, like
in the same game as Cloud, in the same game as Mega Man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like I don't see where you go up from that. And I think that no matter what, and I do agree with you, Roger, that Sakurai is serious when he says legally to continue doing this game after game is impossible.
Yeah.
I don't see how you're not going to disappoint a ton of people. I mean, you even know out there that somebody's going to be pissed if they remove Dark Pit. Somebody out there is going to be upset if Dark Pit gets cut. No matter who gets cut, you're going to piss off a wide swath of your fan base, or at least a swath of it. And if it were legally possible, my choice would be to just keep Ultimate being the standard for system after system. I think it's the best in the series gameplay-wise. I think it easily has the widest appeal in terms of its roster, the stages. I mean, I don't see any better future for Smash other than Ultimate just getting ported from console to console. But realistically, I don't think that can legally happen with, at least, because of the third party characters. So, I'm bracing myself for when Smash 6 happens years down the line. Mega Man's going to be gone. So is Cloud. Maybe even Sonic.
Mega Man's not going to be gone. I feel very
You don't think so?
No. I feel very confident that, like, there are a couple third parties that now are never going anywhere. I think Sonic is forever going to be in Smash now. Like, there's no doubt. And I think Mega Man is kind of one of those characters. And I would actually say Ryu is one of them too. I think Ryu, the introduction of having Street Fighter in Smash really was this big, and Terry too. In what world would SNK not be like, yes, put Terry in everything, please promote our games?
I think more where I was going with that is I'm just wondering if Nintendo would want to position a Smash reboot as refocusing on Nintendo characters only, not being able to get them legally, but just keep it back to Nintendo again.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree with what everyone said. And right after Ultimate was announced, Sakurai said, the only reason why Ultimate exists is because I was able to get my same team at Namco back. Who knows if, he can keep the Namco team on retainer for the next 20 years.
Right.
We don't really know that. And by the end of the DLC, there's going to be like 88 characters. 88 characters. That's crazy. And like 15 of them or more than that are third-party characters that they're going to have to renegotiate. It's just not sustainable. Let alone the 100 stages, the 1,000 music tracks, the 1,000 pieces of artwork. It's just like it's funny because Street Fighter announced their 5th year of season, and even with like the 5 years that Street Fighter 5 have been supported, it doesn't have the content that Smash Ultimate has. So it's like, how can you keep going with that? Will Nintendo do the live model? No, they're not going to do that.
No.
There's just not them.
Yeah.
And they are in a tough spot where they're like many other fighting games that have character cuts. It's going to happen to Smash Brothers, and it has happened in other Smash games where characters have been cut for various reasons. But it's going to be very severe. But if you position it like every character, like Mario, is going to have a completely new moveset, people will be a lot more forgiving, I think.
Yes.
But there's just no way. I mean, there's 88 characters. It's not like a Dragon Ball Z game or a One Piece game.
Right.
It's just insane. There's just no game like that.
Stealth, have you met the Smash community? Do you truly believe that people are going to be forgiving just because Mario gets a new moveset?
That's true. After I said that, I couldn't even. I almost laughed because I couldn't.
Knowing the Smash community, I think if you position it where they all have new movesets and it's like, oh, it plays just like Melee, I think they'll be forgiving of it. I think that's one thing that if there's anything that's more vocal than the people who don't want anything cut from Smash Bros, it's the people who still play Melee in 2020.
And
but that's such a narrow part of the community, though. That represents like a 28th of the community. That's what's hard.
That goes back to what this question was about, though, right? Is that if they maybe continue porting Smash Ultimate and just continue to maybe add characters to the game and have this as one, and then sort of reboot the franchise and have like a hardcore sort of version of it, right? We've seen this with Street Fighter before. There've been different iterations of Street Fighter going at the same time. So why not do the same thing with Smash?
Yeah, I do want a Smash Brothers Ultimate Deluxe when all the DLC is done, so it's all in one cart. So like whenever the Switch servers go down someday, like it's there. And if we have our old Switches and we can get the game online, at least we'll have those memories of it.
That'd be great.
But yeah, and also one last thing. Sakurai did mention, and this was the first time he mentioned it. After every Smash game, he says he's going to quit. This was the first time where he said, I understand the importance of what I'm doing, and I will prioritize Smash Brothers over everything. So I think he'll continue to work on it, indefinitely.
God, I love that man.
I think the TLDR version of all our answers is enjoy this while it's happening because it's not going to last forever. And we are truly, Maximilian's right. We are truly in the golden age of Smash.
That video really is awesome. If you guys haven't watched it, I highly recommend it. It's a really, really good video.
I think there's one way to get people excited about a new Smash. It has good online.
Oh, they can do that.
You know what? Can't argue with that.
That's true.
No matter what, yes, you're right. There'll be an inevitable split in the fan base again. I foresee Ultimate becoming the Melee. Like people will not let it go. It will not be let go of for probably 20 plus years.
That roster, no one's gonna let that go.
Yeah, for sure. This is a question, is a remark from Straw Hat Ninja, our final patron submission. Greetings, All-Star panel. I just wanted to say welcome back to Roger and Ash. Roger, I loved your Sakura Wars playthrough. It was a joy to watch. Ash, I'm so glad you have been back on the podcast recently. You always bring great perspective that's missing when you aren't there. Stealth, thank you for being so positive, especially on Twitter. You're the one who broke the Trails of Cold Steel 4 announcement for me, and that has been my long most anticipated game. No questions, has already went long enough. Then I wanted to say I enjoy all of your work and keep doing what you're doing. Love and respect.
How nice. Thank you, Straw Hat
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And
kindness on the internet.
And back at you, Straw Hat Ninja. I always recognize your name in our own patron questions on the GX podcast. So thank you for being, such a staunch supporter of us and of Easy Allies, because we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, the three of you, for joining me.
Including you.
Fourth guest back here.
Yeah.
Actually, the funny thing was I was trying to get another ally, Ben Moore, on here, since he is a huge Paper Mario fan. But he is still busy actually finishing up our Easy Allies Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition review. So he had to focus on that. So if you're any of our people in the community wondering why Ben wasn't on there, he's just really, really busy. He loves Xenoblade, loves it a lot. Wants to put a lot of effort into that review. So look for that coming out very shortly, I would assume. But yeah, thank you for the three of you for joining me. This is going to be it for the episode of Friend Code. But I wanted to start. I want to let you all, if you're working on anything, or if you want to let people know what you're up to, start with Stealth. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, people know me on Twitter, and they can follow me at Stealth40K. I also started streaming, and same name, Stealth40K. So I hope people join me.
Nice, yeah. Glad you are joining the Twitch community and stuff like that. It's a fun thing to do. What about you, Roger?
Sure. You can find me everywhere at Rogersbase, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch, and on Instagram. I am currently working on 3 different playthroughs right now with Bug Fables, the Bioshock Collection, and Xenoblade. And I'm uploading a full 1-hour video, which is a cut down of my full 18-hour playthrough of Sakura Wars. So down to 1 hour. So if you are at all interested in that game at all, or have never heard anything about Sakura Wars, I highly suggest checking out that video. And of course, thanks so much for having me. It's always a blast. So.
And Ash, what do you got?
Well, you can always find me on Twitter and Instagram at my name, Ash Paulsen. That's ASHPAULSEN. You can always find me on Game Explain. Not quite as frequently lately because it isn't my full-time job. However, in terms of my work, I'm actually working with a new outfit called Geektainment TV that we're doing some pretty cool stuff over there. Kind of a new entertainment platform we're trying to launch and get off the ground. So look us up, check out kind of some of the cool stuff we do, but I'll, always Game Explain, and you can find me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter, and we'll talk about video game music and dogs and Smash and all sorts of cool stuff. So, and I actually do intend to start doing more with my own YouTube channel, hopefully at some point soon as well.
Nice.
So you can also find me on YouTube at Ash Paulsen. There's not a whole lot there right now, but I do want to do more, and I'm going to try to start streaming more and such. So keep an eye out for that.
Well, again, thank you, all three of you, for joining me. Giving up
Thank
some
you.
time on your,
seriously, thanks
your
for having
Wednesday
us. This is
evening.
fun.
This was fun. Yeah, I was really glad I get the three of you together to talk about this. I was expecting maybe one or two of you to say yes, but all three said yes. Like, we're doing this.
What else are we gonna do?
Hey.
What else are we gonna do?
Always in. I'm always happy to be here. You know that. So thank you.
Thank you to all of our patrons who submitted questions for consideration for this episode of Friend Code. If you'd like to submit questions for consideration for a future episode of Friend Code, you got to be a $5 and up patron on patreon.com/EasyAllies. Also, if you're a $5 patron, you're part of the Easy Allies early access tier. You get episodes of our shows and some of our podcasts a little bit early. So thank you for those of you who support us in that way. And for those of you who will be watching this or watching this live on Friday or after Friday when it went public on YouTube, thank you for supporting the show in your own way like that. Very much love and respect for that. We also have some shout outs for May 2020. So thank you to these patrons: Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, Caleb Togi Crawford, L. Thanis, Blue, and Jesse Blue. Shout out. That is going to do it for this episode. So thank you, everyone, once again. And until next time, may the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.